Here we have reteaching for lesson 10-3. The objective for this lesson is to model adding and subtracting fractions and mixed numbers. So here we have the problem 1 7/8 plus 2 3/8, and we're instructed to add these two together and use a model to help us do so. So let's take a look at the next slide where we have a model drawn out for us. On the top you can see the first number in our addition problem, the 1 7/8. And on the bottom we have the 2 3/8. So we're adding these two numbers together. And I want you to think about, take a look at the eighths that we have on our first number up here, the 7/8. Notice that this is almost one whole. We're just 1/8 short of one whole. So if we were to, borrow an eighth from down below, so say we take this one out and we move it up to our first number and create a hole with that eighth and kind of take it away from here. Now we've created a whole nother hole. So now we have one here that we started with, another here that we created by combining the eighths, another 2 down here that we started with, and then we have these two leftover pieces. So this is actually going to be our final answer. We're going to have our 4 holes. This one, remember, is the one that we created with the eighths, and then the 3 we started with. So you could think of this as 3 holes plus 1 plus the 2 eighths that we have down below. So in this case we would have 4 and 2 eighths. So let's take a look at this all cleaned up and pretty. We have our one hole that we combined using our eighths redisplayed as a nice one whole piece just like the other ones. So here again you see our final answer of 4 and 2 eighths, but you may notice that this fraction part of our mixed number can be simplified. So if we divide both of those by 2, 2 divided by 2 is going to be 1, and 8 divided by 2 is going to be 4. So our final answer for this problem is going to be 4 and 1/4. Remember, we just took that 1/8 and combined it to the other eighths to make one whole. So now we're going to do the same thing, only we're going to subtract this time. So here we're going to create a model to show 2 1/5 minus 1 2/5. So here we have our model, and remember the problem was 2 1/5 minus 1 2/5. Well, you may notice right now that we only have a 1/5 down here. We can't take away our 2/5 yet. So what we're going to do is take this one whole and we're going to break it into fifths. And for this to equal one whole, we need to break it into 5/5. And then we should be able to subtract the 2/5. So let's take a look at it with this one broken into 5. So here we have the model readjusted so that we can do our subtraction. And we're just going to, instead of adding this second number to our drawing, we're just going to cross off the parts that we need to subtract. So if we cross off these 2/5 right here, that has got part of our problem taken care of, but then we need to subtract our one whole as well. So we're going to go ahead and cross off this bar up top as well. So now we have 1 2/5 subtracted from our 2 1/5. And notice that when we change this one whole into 5/5, we still have this extra fifth down here. So we actually have 6/5 to work with. But we did cross off these 2/5 because that was part of our subtraction problem. So when we're writing our answer to this problem, we're just going to look at what we have left, what isn't crossed out. So if you take a look, the only parts that aren't crossed out are these fifths right here. And you can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So our final answer here, when we do our subtraction, is going to be 4/5. That's going to be our final answer. And subtraction models are different than addition models in the fact that you only model the first number, and then you go through that model and you cross off the value of the second number like we did below. We crossed off that one whole and the 2/5. We didn't draw it in addition to, because we weren't putting it all together, we were taking away that second number. So we didn't draw it as well as the first. So that's the difference, the main difference between models for adding and models for subtracting.